and welcome Nord Anglia, and thank you for joining us today for our MIT abstract on STEAM, Making Imagination into Reality with MIT PhD student Yun Choi. I'm your host, Fatima Husain, and I'm a PhD student at MIT studying ancient Earth. Now, before we begin, I'd like to cue our listeners into what an abstract actually is. An abstract is just a snapshot or a summary of a greater work of research or writing. And with this series, MIT Abstracts, we're bringing abstracts of inspiring MIT experts straight to you wherever you are around the world. Yun is an engineer and a designer here at MIT. And I am so excited to chat with her for this series and to hear her talk. Hi, Yun.
Hello.
Welcome. It's so good to see you this morning.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me today. And hello, everyone. I'm Yun Choi and goes by Yun. And I'm a PhD student at the Tangible Media Group at the here MIT Media Lab. And thank you for joining the talk today. And I'm so happy to talk about my project, what I've done at the here at MIT. And today I'm going to briefly talk about what is the human-computer interaction and how to make it tangible and playful. And what I've done so far is, so I studied mechanical engineering during my undergrad, and I just did it because I really like make something that moves and bringing life into what I create. And as you can see here, I have made different, and I would say robots or device that interact with human in a very playful and fun way. And other than the engineering work, I really enjoy like drawing and creating animations and videos. So I really love art, and I think this aspect also brings a lot of creativity and helps my work to shine. So before joining the MIT Media Lab, I worked for like developing a robot and also like fabricating a robotic prosthetic hand for people who lost their like arms or hands, so that they can bring their normal ability they missing. And also, this was a very fun and playful project I did for my own like personal interest, which is turning a smartphone into a social and expressive mobile robot that express and convey others' emotions through this its facial expression and also body emotion, as you can see here, like moving their arms and changing their face expression. So that was another very fun project I've done before I joining the Media Lab. So what I have been doing so far mostly have a common theme, which is like connecting human and computer in this real world. So we human are living in this physical and real world, while we often spend our time in the digital world that is created by the computer, which allows you to like see my talk right now through this Zoom, or allow you to play a video game on a computer or a smartphone or tablet PC, and so on. So one of the great example of this digital world mediated by a computer or interacting with the computer would be, I would say, playing a game. So one of the great example, I guess, like I used to play a Minecraft on my computer and also iPad, and I think also some of you might really enjoy to playing a Roblox these days, but I would like to ask, like, how would you control the game character that is living in this digital world? And if you look closer, there's a lots of different way to control this game character, like using a Nintendo play controller or Xbox controller. But like normally you push or type a lots of things on using your keyboard on a computer, or click a button on the mouse, and also touch a screen through the smartphone, or using a pen on an iPad or something like that. So These are like some ways of interacting with the computers, which might be the most familiar way for you to interact with the computer today. But I would like to introduce lots of different ways to interact with the computer. And as I said before, like one of the simple and common way to interact with the computer or the smartphone is just click the button or push the button on the mouse or type the key. But also by pushing a button, you can also control the computer to move, or as I showed before, like moving a robotic hand or some small robots. And also, whenever you get a phone call from your friends, you might feel the phone is vibrating. So not only changing the screen or this what displays on the screen, you can actually change a lots of things happening in the physical world by pushing a button. But also there's a lot of different way to like make this device or computer to move or changing its screen or something like that, such as like singing or speaking out, like so using your voice. You can also command to control the computer, but any other way is just waving your hand or using your body. So that to show some example, I brought some this very cool and fun videos. So one of the way to also interact with the computer or get the game is using your body, as I said. So I think the game from Nintendo, the Ring Fit, is a very great example using your body to control the game character. And also these days in VR world, like virtual reality, you have to use your hand and like arm gesture to control or play yourself in this virtual world. And even in this real world, like in the physical world, very cool artists created this like swarms of penguin robots that reacts to your body gesture and mirrors your posture whenever you move your whole body. So there's a lot of way to interact with this computer these days, and I'm gonna show more example that I've been working on to expand this interaction space. And this is one of the cool project that was done in our group, in Team Media Group in 2013. And this is a great example to also show how to control the computer or the device using your whole body. So as you can see here, you use your hand gesture and the computer captures your hand and the body motion, and then it projects to your on a tabletop 3D display to changing its shape, so that enables you to control even from the remote distance. And other example I want to show is one project I did just for fun, which is a bubble machine. But what it does is it captures the or reacts to the ambient sound that coming from the surrounding. And whenever it captures or detects the sounds, it creates the bubble. So as I said before, there's a lot of way to control the device, but this one is show how to control the device through this your voice or the sounds from the environment. And next project I'd like to show is a haptic device that provides a comfortable feeling to your body through the sense of touch when you wear this device on your upper body. So how the way it works is using the air. So whenever it sucks in the air inside of this device, it creates or it deforms its shape to create different shapes, and also create, it can also render different types of a pattern onto your body. So what it does is like try to guide you to slow breathing whenever it inflates through this inhaling the air through this device. And in collaboration with the Hyundai Motor Company, we deployed this device into a toy car that runs in a children's hospital in Barcelona. And this device, as you can see here, was applied with the different cool technology developed in the Media Lab. And also, as you saw in the video, it has a seatbelt that attached with the device that I developed, and then it provides a comfortable feeling to these children. And while they're going to the surgery or treatment room in the hospital, it tries to provide a very entertaining experience and also ease their stress and anxiety through this playful interaction. And last project I'd like to share is from when I was locked down at home in Korea last year. And when I was eating a bunch of snacks and chips, just sitting on a chair and just try to work at home, I got a very fun idea to use and recycle this wasted plastic bag and try to create these fun robots like a wizard you can see on the right side from the video. So what I did was I used a 3D printer, as you can see here, that you might have seen or used at school or home, that prints out a melted plastic filament by heating up its nozzle that you see in this video. So instead of using this plastic filament, I use the wasted plastic bag and heating the part of the 3D printer that I called nozzle to heat and heat seal this plastic bag and create different patterns to create different types of shape changing robots, as you can see on the right side. So I create like moving birds or like rabbits or different like robotic hands as well, using these different types of plastic or chip or snack bags at home. So, and even this fun headband that looks like a rabbit using cookie bags. So I create this kind of fun interactive robots using this 3D printer at home. And I have shown different ways to control and interact with the computer, as you saw previously slide. And I hope you enjoy them and got some creative insight through this several example. And I guess that was the whole talk for today. And thank you for showing your interest. And I'd love to answer any of your questions today. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you, Yun. I am absolutely mesmerized by everything you've shown us today. I love this. I even love this. Thank you. I need one of those in the lab for sure. I'll have to ask you how I can make one too. So to kick us off, Yun, you mentioned a few times in your talk the Media Lab at MIT, and I know because I go to MIT that you're wearing a sweatshirt with the Media Lab logo. For all of the non-English students on the call who might not be familiar, can you tell us what the Media Lab actually is and what your group is in there?
Yeah, so the Media Lab is a very special place, I guess, in this MIT, especially because it's really hard to define by like a one sentence, because it has it's I would say like playground for a researcher or artist or designer who has a very different and various background. So they are not only an engineer or scientist, but they are doing a very cool art project or even playing a music or create their own they create their own like a research space. So it's a place where you can collaborate with the from a different background and from a different place and create a new and fun and project. So yeah, and like we have like more than like 20 different groups that are doing a lot of different things. But for us, like my case, like I'm in the group that is called the Tangible Media Group, which is try to connect people to the digital world through this tangible interaction and bring those interaction happening in the digital world to this real world. So using your hand gesture or your body and control this computer and communicate through this media with people over distance.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense given what you've shown us today. So we have one question from a Nord Anglia student that actually hit us, 2 slides into your talk. And this Nord Anglia student is wondering, when you were growing up, did you know that you wanted to do art and engineering? Did you know that you were going to end up being an artist and engineer? And how did you pursue that?
Oh yeah, I think that's a really great question. Like, I think my first dream, like job when I was young, was being painter. So, and then the second, like after like 2 years, I got changed my mind to be an inventor. And I think like this cycle was keep going on. And I think I always dreamed to be an artist. And one of the way to being an artist, I thought that being or studying mechanical engineer which I studied like during my undergrad, because I thought that if I study this engineering or science, then I believe that I could create something that I want or I imagine very easily, because what I imagined for myself was like mechanical engineer is one who can build something or build a machine that I wanted to build. So at that time, I think naturally or in a very organic way, I think I followed this my first dream path. But looking back, I think, yeah, even though I didn't realize that I'm gonna be like this engineer or artist, but looking back, I think in a very self-conscious way, I was keep thinking that I want to be this engineer and artist. Yeah.
Wow. And speaking of, that painting, original painting inspiration, is the art that is in your virtual background that we're seeing, is this something you created?
Yeah. I really like
Wow.
to, paint, and still I do lots of drawing and illustration. And sometimes it's really helpful to even like convey your or present your new idea to people, and like pursue this new idea, and then deliver to or like I have to say convince other people to believe that what I dreaming of in my that stick in my mind. So it's a very, I think, good way to also express your idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree. So now we have a question from a Nord Anglia student. I'm gonna read it verbatim. So this Nord Anglia student says, I love your creativity. I'm actually currently doing art at school and I'm struggling to find inspiration. Do you have any tips on how you find inspiration?
Oh yeah, I think that's a really important, like a good question. And I mean, I often really struggle as well to find a very good idea, but what I'm trying to do is like try to not so much or obsessed with like this process of creating a new idea, but just like try to get some relax and like not trying to too much or like pushing yourself to like only focus on like creativity or idea. But maybe when you relax a little bit down and then walking the street, you might find like very little tiny caterpillar that moves a very interesting way, and then you might get a very great insight from unexpected like creature you found on the street. Or like that's I think how I was got a insight or creative idea when I was just sitting on a couch and like eating a chips in my home. And then when I was saw this like plastic bag, and then this like heat sealed pattern of the plastic bag got me so interested. So at some point, even I wasn't like trying to like think about like or think about making a new idea, but just the new pattern like got my eyes, and I was watching it, and then I got start to like have an interest. How did it was created, and then maybe I could create it by my own self using a 3D printer or something like that. So I think like trying to being exposed to a different environment, and like trying to look at the different things and from a different side, and also I think going out to the nature is also another very cool way to get inspiration. But try not to so much of push yourself to, okay, I have to create a new idea or something like that. But yeah, just being relaxed and like sometimes ideas will just come into your mind. Yeah, that in a very unexpected way. So
Got it. And you gave us that example of seeing, for example, like how a caterpillar moves in that really interesting way. Another non-English student's wondering, are you inspired at all by human movements or human facial expressions or the things that we do for your designs and inventions?
oh yeah. I think one of the device I show you, the haptic device that like inhale the air and then changing the shape. So that device was for like guiding your breathing, but the way I created, and then the reason why I make it like inhaling the air and like making this like a balloon shape was inspired from the human's body, which especially the lung and the chest movement. So whenever you inhale the air, actually your body expand, especially your waist area. And then when you exhale the air out, like your whole body is like shrinking down. So from watching or observing this body motion, I thought that maybe I could get this metaphor from this body and then create a human-like or very organic or natural device. So that maybe people feel this device more familiar, or maybe they feel easy to use this device. So I often got a lot of inspiration just looking at our own selves as well. Yeah.
Got it. And now we have a question from Ahana Sinha from 5C. And Ahana's wondering, which item that you created from these plastic bags and the cookie bags was your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I think the one of the slide I show you, the headband, it's a very simple, like you just what I did was like I just create like a diamond shape on a like a simple chocolate cookie bag, and then just hot glue it on a headband, and then put the straw, and then I blow the air inside of this plastic bag, and then whenever you blow the air, it's shrinking or like it's bending down, so that creates like a bunny like a movement. But it's really simple, but just putting on the headband, it creates a very new feature, and also it's a very fun accessory for you. So I really like it, and then actually sometimes I wear it to present my work sometime, and then it creates a very playful vibe. So I really like
Wow.
that.
So you're telling me that if I get a headband, some plastic, and some straws, I could make one for one of my coming abstracts and wear it while I give my next talk?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really quick and easy, and then I think everyone would like it. Yeah.
So it's super fun. So we have a question from another non-English student, and this person's wondering how, in your daily routine, do you set aside time to draw or come up with ideas? What does your day-to-day actually look like?
So I really try to draw like every night, especially whenever I finish my work at the lab and then go back to home. And then this, like my background is also one of them that I create like during the nighttime. And then this is really a good way to also meditate, and then like organizing your whole thinking process that happening in your brain. And then what I do is like just try not to think anything, and then grab whatever you like whatever you want, like a pen or painting or paint like brush or something, and then on a piece of paper I just follow, or I just let my hand to draw something, but I don't try not to think. So whenever I do this, it's really interesting to see what pattern I create that even I don't realize. So every day I see, I use a different colors, and I make a different patterns. And then looking back that it's like writing a journal, but in a visual way. So whenever you finish this drawing, you see sometimes yourself, oh, I might feel maybe a very joyful this day today, or I might be kind of sad because I used a lot of blue or something, but I didn't intend that, but it just happened. So that way also another way to looking back yourself, and then also yeah, summarizing today in a very creative way, I think. So yeah, that's I think one of the very important routines for me to do. Keep doing it every day. Yeah.
I see. That's a really nice idea. I like this idea of using art to kind of journal at the end of the day and to explore things that we didn't get to directly address. So we have a question from someone who I think is really inspired by the videos that you showed it, and they're wondering, can they create similar devices with things like Legos? Or I think they're thinking of things they already have access to. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, you can even like the plastic bag with the air, and then you can squeeze those plastic bag in between those Lego block, and you can make a wing or for a Lego character you created, or like make a dinosaur with a tail that moves with this plastic bag and using the air or something like that. Or I think these days the Lego has like different version, which is like a Lego technique, like that has a motor and sensor in it. So combining all together, you can, I think, create or express your own creativity. So yeah, why not? Like, I think it's a really cool idea to using the Lego. Yeah.
That's something I think I'm going to have to try now with my Legos.
Yeah.
So another Nord student says that, they mentioned the idea of writer's block, and writer's block is when, someone like me is trying to write, I have to write a paper or do a project, or I'm trying to create something, and it's really hard. And you get this kind of block where you just don't feel creative. And this Nord student is wondering, has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I mean, like every time, like even like yeah, writing is really hard for me as well. Like I'm really visual person that I really like to draw something and tell my story using the visual stuff. But the writing is really hard, and especially for PhD students at the lab, you have to write a lots of different paper and like trying to report your work through this writing. And yeah, that happens a lot. And what I trying to do is the way I to do is like open the computer and then blank screen and try to start to type a keyword, like, and start to write a bullet point that I want to say something, and then I draw the figure that express those keywords, and then try to write down those description that describes those figures in a more expressive way. So I think going back and forth, I do this going back and forth process and iteration, but I started with this, like come up with the keyword and then a bullet point and then make a figure and then try to describe those figures. So that's how it works for me.
Yeah, I do something very similar myself, because you're right. As students here at MIT, we have to write all the time. I have 3 papers due in the next week, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to write a lot of bullet points later today. So now we have a Nord Anglia student who's wondering, do you have any role models for the work that you're doing? Who are the people that you look up to?
Oh, that's a really, I don't have a like specific role model, I would say, but I think I got a really lots of inspiration even from my colleagues or like my friends, our lab mates in our group or even in the media lab. I got a chance to meet a lot of people, new people every day in this lab, just walking by. And then just by looking at the way they walking or working at the lab, it's really excited me as well and inspired me to enjoy the work, because they really show how to being passionate about their research and also, yeah, they really do the work in a very playful way. So I think like the people around me are a really good, great model, role model. And also lots of different artists. Yeah, I really also like respect those artists who are really focused on their own artwork. Yeah, so that's I think I would say like they're my role model for my work.
I think that's a really fantastic answer, Yun. And now, I mean, I think you've I think you have inspired an artist student today, and I'm going to read what the student has written. I love your work. I actually have this art sketchbook in school, and I was wondering if it was okay if I could use your work as my inspiration.
Oh yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome. I really, yeah, that's really, I'd be honored to, yeah, yeah. That's really, I mean, as an artist, I think the main or like goal for the artist would be like inspiring people. So if you got inspiration from my work, I would be really happy, and then I feel so fulfilled and satisfied and rewarded. So yeah, please go ahead and then create your own art using any of my work. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. We have a student who's wondering, and I think they're thinking about the future. They want to know what kinds of human-computer interactions do you think we'll see in the future? What is on the horizon?
Um, yeah, I think it's really hard to like predict, but like from my personal point of view, I think like lots of people are also trying to go into this like a metaverse theme, and also going to this like virtual worlds in a VR or AR. Uh, I think, but like at the same time, the main goal of this whole new trend is to try to connect people over like regardless of the distance between people or the time zone. So I think like my guess or is my vision is like connecting people, but not happening in this like virtual world more, but more trying to bring the people in this real world. So as I show a different example, using this existing object in this real world, like even simple like a chair or like a desk you're using every day. But how about to connect people using this simple object, like for example, like if you like um tap on the surface of the desk, it's connected to your friend's desk over like a different country, then maybe your friends will might be able to feel the tapping motion you just tap on the desk. So it's a very simple interaction but it might create like some presence of someone, as if your friend is being with you even though it's very far away. So I really like to create this kind of synchronized interaction using existing physical daily object. So there might be another way, or it would be combined with the VR or AR, but I really like to bring people to be being connected through this physical interaction. Yeah.
That's a really nice idea. So for those of you who don't know, Yun and I work actually very close to each other physically. We're right across the courtyard. So you're saying maybe we can invent something to let each other know that we're working at our desks.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's do it.
yeah.
We have a question from Anisha Sony, and Anisha's wondering, you know, these inventions and these nice designs that you make. She's wondering, can you create essentially like little robots that can control other robots? Like, can you do human computer interaction that then leads to computer interaction?
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, there's a term like a telepresence or teleoperation, which is you control the robots in a different place using another robots So you have like your own robot that is synchronized with the other robot. It's a similar example that I just described using a desk, but you can actually control the other robot using the robot that you have, because those are mechanically synchronized or like electronically synchronized or having identical structure. So by moving this structure you have, you can actually control over the other robots that in the different space. So yeah, there's a lot of way to do it, but there's yeah, existing technology you can do, and then actually it's used for even tele operation for surgery in the hospital as well. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. So Anisha is definitely onto something there. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in that. So you should look into that for sure, Anisha. And now we have a question from Leo from grade 10A at NISC. And Leo's wondering, when you're trying to do your work, do you try to focus your ideas onto practical uses and things? Or do you just kind of go for whatever inspires you in that moment? Like, are you starting with a goal in mind, or are you just waiting till inspiration hits you? And Leo says that they're asking this because they're currently struggling with motivation. So they really want to know, how do you get to working?
Yeah, for me, like personally, I'm a kind of person who just start from the inspiration and do not thinking about like a practical thing at first, because if I was thinking about like practicality, then sometimes it constrains my mind and my creativity, so that even hard for me to start something to create. So I just start from create something like prototyping something, and then by using like moving my hands and actually like using the like physical material, and then stick those together and then try to make something move, and then those process actually keep inspiring me as I doing something. So I prefer the rather this way rather than start from the practical way. And then by doing like by just start to create something, you will be able to find the way to apply this new technique you created to something. um, or you might be able to find a very important problem you have to solve using your own technique. um, so yeah, I think it depends on people, but personally I really like to start from like making it.
Got it. And now we have a really nice, interesting question from a Northern English student. And they're wondering, when you're creating these devices, how do you get feedback for them? Who are you asking for feedback? How do you incorporate that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, if, as a researcher, it's really great. I mean, it's really important to get a feedback and asking for a feedback from people. And while we usually do in the media lab is like every time we present our work within the group, and also I have a advisor, and he gives a really good comments to about like this design and the interaction method, and I reflect on those comments as well. And but also we have a method which is called a user study. So we run a user study whenever I develop a new device or technology, and I recruit the people from different places, and then come invite them to come to the lab, and then ask them to use my device, and then record their video, or like doing a survey to ask how they feel, or was it easy for you to use this device, or how would you rate the experience, or something like that. So we do a lot of this user study to get a feedback, and then after that we do another iteration to improve the device based on the comments we got from the users. So yeah.
Got it. And we have we have so many questions that students still want to ask, but unfortunately we're running out of time. So I'm going to hit you with one last question, Yun. So I think you've actually inspired for sure future artists and engineers today. And I'm wondering, what qualities make good artists and engineers going forward? What advice can you give these students?
I would say like try to be consistent and also persist what you really like. So it's also based on like my observation of like other artists and like my colleagues, like they are really focused on something they really passionate about, and it's not end at that, but they really pursue their idea to be realized and being created. So you will face a lots of challenges where once you start to create, try to create something. Sometimes it doesn't work as you want, but I think the biggest difference between like a great artist or engineer um, is they keep trying to make it happen. Where whenever, I mean, whether it's not working or not, but they keep trying and they don't feel depressed even they see or face or just a small tiny failure. So I think trying to persist, pursue your dream, and then like being passionate about what you really like and then enjoy that moment, even those like tiny failure, and then try to learn from that. It's really important. And yeah, keep doing what you really like. It's in a very consistent way. So I think that makes a huge difference to be a good artist or an engineer. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's fantastic advice. So being consistent and persistent, continuing to try consistently for sure. And now, Yun, I'm going to tell the students about the coming series and how they can actually catch any recordings of your talk and the other abstracts. So I wanted to begin by thanking the MIT North Anglia collaboration, MIT North Anglia Education Collaboration for making this series possible. If you liked what you heard and saw from Yun today, which I did very much, you can catch a recording of Yun's talk, presentation, and Q&A on Global Campus, as well as YouTube soon. And you can also find on YouTube the other MIT abstracts and their recordings. And of course, please join us, continue to join us for this exciting series. We have so much more fun to come for sure. And everyone keep up the good work and asking such amazing questions. So now I'd like to end by thanking Yun sincerely for taking time out of her day to share all this amazing work with us. Thank you, Yun.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really enjoy it. And like your all the questions are amazing. And I also got lots of inspiration from you. So I would say you're also an artist. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, they're really amazing. And it was really a pleasure to have you. So now we're going to say goodbye and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.